Welcome back to Basement Reviews. I'm Nasty Neil here at the Station of Decapitation, WithoutYourHead.com, to talk about More Brains, the new documentary about the 1985 zombie classic, The Return of the Living Dead. This movie covers a lot of ground. Goes all the way back to the fight for the name Living Dead between John Russo and George Romero, stemming back to, of course, Night of the Living Dead, and how the script of the movie advanced from originally a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead, a straight-up horror film, and how it became the Dan O'Bannon comedy horror classic that we all know and love today. It also covers the casting of the film, both the veteran actors and the young punk actors, the look of the movie, how he wanted the zombies to look kind of like something out of EC Comics, and the big battle between the special effects artist William Munns and Kenny Myers. And for the first time, for me anyway, you get to see the actual picture of the infamous yellow zombie, the yellow corpse, that if you've listened to previous commentary tracks and other Return of the Living Dead releases, you know that was something that they talked quite a bit about. And so I was really happy to finally see a picture of it and see what all the hubbub was. And from there, of course, the music in the film, the punk music, and you get to hear from SSQ, the lead singer of SSQ. And from there, the actual making of the film, the interaction between Dan O'Bannon and all the various cast members, both, of course, the veteran actors like Clu Gulager and some of the younger actors. And some of them really liked him, some of them didn't. So that's very interesting, and I think everybody, though, looking back, looks fondly at him. And then, of course, the main thing is everyone looking back at the legacy of Return of the Living Dead, because this is, 25 years later, and everyone's still talking about it. So it covers, like I said, it covers a lot of ground, and it's mostly about, well, the main movie itself is all about the first film. On the specials, which I'll get more into, they cover the second film and the third film. Now, they don't cover the fourth film or the fifth film, but I think for most fans, the first three films are really what people enjoy and think of as the franchise. Now, if you're looking for, the complete franchise, because maybe it would have been cool to hear about Part 4 and 5, even if they don't really live up to the other three, in most people's opinion. It could have been entertaining, but, they don't cover them. But like I said, I think primarily people want to hear about especially the first three films. So I don't think that's really a big negative. Now, if you get the DVD off GetMoreBrains.com, you actually get a free small poster, like a print, and it's signed by three of the cast members. So that's pretty sweet, and you should get it there. It's only like $20 and free shipping, so you really can't go wrong. Also, I believe it was last week's entertainment named it the number 4 must-do on the must-do list. So that's pretty cool for the movie. If you're a fan of Without Your Head, you know that I'm a big fan of the movie, and we've interviewed a lot of the people that are in this documentary. So you could, after you've watched everything on here, you can check out WithoutYourHead.com. And also, I would like to recommend the book, The Complete History of the Return of the Living Dead franchise, by Gary Smart, who's also the writer of on the film here. So if you can't get enough Return of the Living Dead, check that out as well. Really impressed with the cast of characters they got for the movie, because it's pretty much every living cast member of the original film. Linnea Quigley, Brian Peck, Beverly Randolph, Tom Matthews, just everybody you can think of. I know I skipped a few there. It's the writer, it's the producers of the film, lead singer of SSQ did the big theme song, the casting producer, everybody you can think of. Now, it also has William Munns in it and Kenny Myers. And it's really cool to hear William Munns' side of the story, because over the years on different documentaries and interviews, he's gotten beat up a lot by the people said he wasn't up to par for the special effects. Now, if that's true or not, who knows, but he finally gets to give his side of the story, which is really cool. And of course, you get to hear from Alan Troutman, who played the Tar Man. Just about, like I said, everybody who's still alive that you can think of. Now, I say still alive, but Dan O'Bannon is in it. Now, I'm not sure the reasoning here, but they leave his part for the very end of the actual documentary, and then you can listen to his full interview on the extras. Now, that's pretty cool. Everyone else, is split up and shown in the movie. Now, it's not a lot of archival footage, mostly the people sitting down and telling you their side of the story, telling you all their memories of making the film and looking back what they think of it now. Now, primarily everyone's really positive about the movie, everything about it, the making of, and their memories of it. Well, I'll say the making of. I mean, there are some people like Beverly Randolph and Clu Gulager had some problems with Dan O'Bannon, and maybe the actual making of wasn't as pleasant. But when they look back at it, they really remember the whole thing very fondly. Now, some people might think, well, it's kind of a fluff piece, and if it's everyone saying how much they loved it, but it's not at all. You could tell everyone's really honest about how they felt about the movie, and I kind of think that's a big part of why the movie's lasted so long, and it's still good today, because when you hear everybody involved, they just love the movie. There was a lot of passion involved in making the movie, a lot of love involved in making the movie, a lot of fun involved. And when you watch a movie, I always had a lot of fun watching it, and you tell all the people involved have a lot of fun talking about it, which makes it fun for the viewer. And that's what watching movies should be all about. And of course, you've got the big story between Clu Gulager and Dan O'Bannon. And do you find out for sure, did Dan O'Bannon really get something thrown at him by Clu Gulager? You decide. But it's always interesting to hear from all the people that were there. And Clu Gulager is always really entertaining guy. Now, Brian Peck, he does the narration, and he does a really good job. He always has a real nice, fun voice to him. And he played Scuzz, so he's also part of the documentary. It's really interesting to hear from John Russo, because usually when you hear from him, it's all about Night of the Living Dead, not a lot about Return of the Living Dead. So you get to hear all about how the battle for the name Living Dead with him and George Romero, and how George Romero went on to make, of course, Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead and so forth. And John Russo also, had the rights to the name and wanted to make his sequel. We're coming for. I really like the look of the movie. Like I said, it's not a lot of archival footage. It's mostly, pretty much all, just a guy sitting there and telling their side of the story. But they keep everything moving, so no time are you bored at all. And everyone has great stories, so it's a lot of fun. And they cut back and forth a lot between the different characters. And just even like the little things, all the stuff in the background is a lot of fun just, to watch. You're listening to stories, but, you see little things in the background. That's always cool. The animated sequences are really cool by Gary Smart, who also did the book, The Complete History of the Return of the Living Dead. You should check that out. Pretty much everyone's in it, even the paramedics, and they get to tell their side of the story. All the young punk actors in it, except for the one who passed away, of course. You got Linnea Quigley's in it, Tom Matthews, Beverly Randolph, Brian Peck. It's always a lot of fun to hear from James Karen and Don Calfa. And it's interesting because their take on the movie while they're on set was a lot different than Clu Gulager, and they're all three of the veteran actors, but all three got along differently with Dan O'Bannon. We're coming for. Now on to the extras on the DVD, which there's a lot of them. Of course, they cover the whole second film with a lot of the cast members from the first one, and of course, and then the new people. They didn't get as many people for part two as they did for the first one. I would have liked to have heard from the director, Ken Wiederhorn, to see his take, because a lot of people are not huge on him, and some people don't like the movie. I think part two, it holds up on its own. It's a lot different than part one. It's more comedy. Actually, when I was a kid, I preferred part two, because I liked all the zombie effects. And when I got older, I appreciated one a lot more, and it's one of my favorite movies now. And while I still like two, I probably don't like as much as I did when I was a kid. But anyway, it's really interesting to hear everyone's take on part two, and how it came about. Now, the documentary portion on part three is also in the extras. And they don't give as many people as it is part one, just like the part two segment. But who they do get, it's really interesting, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know about, like the big zombie at the beginning was actually a homeless person. I don't want to give it all away. I don't want to spoil the movie, but you should definitely check it out. Brian Peck I believe he's the only one, maybe him and Kenny Myers, that in all three parts. And so you get to hear his take and how he was part of all three films. Man, that guy's everywhere, that Brian Peck. Now, part three is a lot different than either of the first two films. And I know a lot of people who actually, that's their favorite one. To me, it's really a completely different film, even though they connected at the beginning. Just the tone, even though the tone between part one and two is different, you could tell that they're, taking place in the same like universe, whatever. But part 3 really seems like a totally different film. They're telling different stories, so it's interesting to get everyone involved in part 3 and talk about it. I think part 3 is more so its own film than part 2, which a lot of people see as, a sequel to part 1, and then some people see it's almost a remake in a lot of ways, just different things going on. Now, also on the extras is the final interview with Dan O'Bannon. And this is one of the best extras, one of the best things on the whole DVD, is just the long sit-down interview with Dan O'Bannon. Now, I'm not sure why they did this, but this isn't cut up in the DVD like the other interviews. It's just his one long interview, and I think he deserves that. He's the guy who created the movie. And it's just really interesting to hear all his takes on the movie. And if you're a fan of WithoutYourHead.com, I think I mentioned this on the Brian Peck interview. I was actually in talks with Dan O'Bannon and emailed with him right before, it was not too long before he passed away, and he was going to come on the show once he got out of the hospital, but that never happened. But nonetheless, you get to see the final interview with Dan O'Bannon, and you definitely see this guy as a character, and you could see how he would be just like everyone involved. Some people remember him very fondly and had a lot of fun with him, and you could see how he might be an abrasive guy, and you might not enjoy working with him. So I dug that, and it's always really cool to hear from him. One of the best parts of the DVD. Also, really cool special is Stacy Q Live, and she does her big song from the Return of the Living Dead. Nowadays, it's a cool little video, a little extra on the DVD. Then Beverly Randolph and Brian Peck actually go back and look at some of the old sets of the movie and see what have come about. Not necessarily the sets of the movie, but where the sets were built, the locations of the film. So that's kind of a fun little walk down memory lane kind of thing and see how things have changed so much. Nothing really mind-blowing in that part, but just kind of fun to see him walk around. Brian Peck's a funny guy. Beverly Randolph seems like one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. There's also a lot of deleted scenes, little tidbits that didn't make the final film. Now, a lot of these are really cool, especially the William Stout stories about mortuaries. And so if you check out the DVD, you got to check out the specials. I'd say they're all worth watching. Check out the extras, check out the deleted scenes, and you should just watch them all, but you should check that one out especially. That one's really funny. And Nasty Neil definitely gives that one a big thumbs up. If I had a negative about that, there's no play all feature there, so you have to click each play on each one. Not a huge thing, but it would be nice to have a play all. We're coming Final take on this, highly recommend it. If you're a fan of horror movies, especially if you're a fan of Return of the Living Dead, you watch it and you just have a lot of fun. You feel like you're part of it. All the cast members really look back fondly on the movie, had a lot of fun making it, have a lot of pride in the movie today and what's become of it. Not too much negativity there. The people that made the movie, you could tell they really had a lot of passion and had a lot of fun making it, the documentary itself. And of course, the very first movie, Return of the Living Dead, and I think that's why it holds up today, 1985. And now it's 2011, people still talk about it. And everyone involved, you can really tell the passion in it. And like I said, I think that's why it's still so fondly remembered. So I definitely check it out. A lot of funny stories. A lot of people remembering things that happened. Get little stories, behind the scenes of a movie. The making of the movie. Everything that's happened since. A lot of fun. Just a great film. Highly recommend. I'm a big fan of documentaries anyway. But this is one of the better ones. Now, they also put out, his name is Jason, which is good. I'm not a huge fan on that one, but then their second one, Never Sleep Again, I thought was just outstanding. Now, if you haven't seen that, that's the documentary that covers the entire franchise of A Nightmare on Elm Street. And it's one of the best documentaries I think that's ever been put out. More Brains, a lot of fun. It doesn't quite have the information of the Nightmare on Elm Street one, only because there wasn't as many films. Wouldn't it be cool if they covered part 4 and 5 on the documentary, considering it's a complete franchise history. Now, I'm not really crazy over part 4 or 5. I really don't even like those movies, to be honest. But it would have been cool to hear, the reasoning behind everything and the people experience when they're making it, the different actors. maybe what the director was thinking, the writer or whatnot. And perhaps I could have been more entertaining than the actual films. But nonetheless, it covers the first three. And for me, those are the movies you really want to see. Yeah, I forgot to mention my buddy Michael Kenworthy is on the part 2 part in the special, so you got to check that out too, of course. But definitely worth watching. Just a great time. Highly recommended.
This is Michael Kenworthy, and you better check out WithoutYourHead.com.
Okay, everybody, thanks for listening. This is Nasty Neil, and rate this video. Hopefully, a big thumbs up. Leave some comments what you thought of the movie. Maybe some future movies you'd like to see me review. Subscribe here to this channel. Also go to WithoutYourHead.com and subscribe to the podcast. Join the message board. Go to Facebook and search for Without Your Head and join the page there. It's a lot of fun. I also wanted to mention that if you're planning on going to Days of the Dead, and if you're not, you really should. I went last year. It was a lot of fun. Just one of the best conventions I've ever been to, actually. And but if you go there as a special bonus, if you get the VIP ticket, you actually get a free copy of More Brains on DVD. That's pretty sweet. And also, if you go there, tell them that Neil told you to do it. And I'll be seeing you there if you go to the one in Atlanta. I'll be there, and hopefully the one in India as well, and maybe the one in Chicago. I don't know, but I'll definitely check out daysofthedead.net. Great conventions. Can't speak highly enough about them.
Under a watchful moon, your heart lay dead inside you. Oh, grab a hold of who you knew. Oh God, look out, no one will say. Where